In this video, we're going to go over what is a haunches in, also known as Travers, and what's the difference between a haunches in and a haunches out. And haunches out is also known as Renvers. So the difference between haunches in or haunches out is nothing more than reference to the arena. Just like in the shoulder in, you have bend and you have angle. What's different about the shoulder in to the haunches in is the direction you're bent. So in a shoulder in, you're bent away from the direction of travel. So if I was heading towards you in the camera, my horse would be bent away from the direction, which makes it easier. It's just engaging one hind leg. Where the haunches in is I'm bent into the direction of travel. So I'm heading towards you, my horse is bent that way slightly. I'm asking the hind, if my rail's over here, I ask the hind to come off the rail with a slight angle, but the horse is already bent into the direction of travel. What makes the difference between the two is in a shoulder in, you're bent away from the direction of travel. In a haunches in, you're bent into the direction of travel. Now, the big thing that changes for the horse, and don't let this get too complicated for you, you don't have to memorize all of this right now, but just to give you an idea, in a shoulder in, the inside leg is crossing over the outside and you're engaging one hind leg. So if I'm bent this way, this inside hind leg here is stepping up and underneath, and so you're engaging one hind leg at a time. If you go the other way, it engages the other hind leg. Where a haunches in, if I'm bent into the direction of travel, you're engaging both hind legs underneath. And that's why the haunches in is more challenging to do. It takes a little more time to prepare for that. Now the other thing with the legs is in a shoulder in, the inside leg is crossing over in front of the outside. So the inside's crossing the outside, where in a haunches in, the outside is crossing over the inside. And again, don't let this get too complicated because it's all about the bend of your horse. So if my horse is bent to the left in a haunches in, now her right hind leg is the outside hind and it's crossing over the inside hind. And they're both having to kind of come up underneath and engaging the horse. We're in a shoulder in, my horse is bent to the right hind leg is engaging up underneath, so this left hind would be the outside. This is the outside of the bend here. This is the inside in a shoulder in. So the inside would be crossing over the outside. Now, this here is going to make more sense as you get out there and do it. And why it's so important is when we start transitioning from a shoulder in to a haunches in and doing the different lateral work, you're building dexterity in those crossover, and that's why that's so important. But that's in another video. I just wanted to kind of give you a brief explanation of the differences there of the shoulder in to the haunches in, so you don't get caught up in which one's which. Because as you learn, you're starting to add more and more movements in there, and they can get confusing because there's a lot of similarities. But if you're not confirmed in the shoulder in work yet, just go back, get the shoulder in good, so you have a solid understanding of that before you even start the haunches in, because that will really just get you all confused. So again, the haunches in is bending into the direction of travel. So you have bend and you have angle. Now, I'm going to just go out there and ride a little bit of that. I'm not going to talk too much about how to do it. I just want to show you what it is. In the next videos coming up, I'm going to go through the 4 variations of haunches in. So you have haunches in. Here the horse is bent into the direction of travel. And like shoulder in, we're looking for a 3-track to a 4-track, and depending on the horse, you're going to have a different angle. So the angle is how much do you bring the horse's hind end off the rail. The bend is how much you bend your horse. How much bend is from the pole to the tail. So there's not a lot of bend in the haunches in. But now angle is I bring the horse's hind off of the rail, and if you notice, you'll notice her outside hind is crossing over her inside hind. And so she's engaging, she's coming up. Now, again, the haunches in's a little more challenging than your shoulder in, because the horse has to kind of bend into the direction you're going. So I'll go down the center line here and just show you it from the hind end. So the horse's head, neck, and body is bent to the right. I ask her hind to go to the right, keeping her head and shoulders following that line. And I'll just turn around and I'll show you as I'm coming back. Kind of a way to think of it is, if I'm heading straight to you, can I tip her nose slightly to the right? Now ask her hind to go to the right, and now the line of travel of her nose and her front feet are on this line, on the center line, and the hind is moved off to the right some. And we're getting a nice crossover. Relaxed, she's soft there, and that was pretty nice. So the haunches in is about getting control over the hind end, where shoulder end's more about getting control over the front end with a little bit of the hind end, but the haunches in is about the hind end. And so we have to be able to control our pelvis, our hips, and our legs. So think of, from the saddle forward, it's controlled by this part of my body from here on up, and from here on down is what I control the rest of the horse. Is really from the front of the saddle back. So think of the front of the horse I control with my upper body, and the back part of the horse, the horse's back and hind end, is controlled more from the lower part of the body. And that's, as a general rule, that's what you're going to be doing. So with the haunches in, most of that is being controlled through your seat and your legs. And you have to get your horse responsive to be able to do this. But again, don't start this too early. Go out there, play with getting your shoulder in work really good, because that's going to help prepare your horse for the haunches in. So haunches in is moving the horse's hind to the inside of the arena. Haunches out, or also known as Renvers, is moving the horse's hind end to the outside. So it's the same maneuver as haunches in, it's just again in reference to the arena wall. So if I'm going down the rail here, and when I get to the corner there, I'll put her in a haunches out, or Renvers. Haunches in's Travers, haunches out's Renvers. So I'm just moving her hind to the outside. So her bend is still in the direction of travel, and I move her hind to the outside. So she's bent to the outside, her hind moves to the outside, and she's in a haunches out position. But it's the same movement, but it's just in reference to the arena wall. If I was going down the center, or if I was out on the trail, it would be more of a haunches in left or haunches in right. You really wouldn't have haunches out. So don't let that confuse you. It's not that big of a deal. It's just really to the inside or to the outside of the arena. Your haunches in is what it says, or it's also known as Travers. So you're moving your horse's hind end to the inside, the horse is bent to the inside, and then haunches out is as I change the bend to the outside, I change the angle to the outside. And so it's all in reference to the arena there, and if I were to come down the center line, or if I was out on the trail, I didn't have the arena to have reference, then it would just be a haunches in to the right or haunches in to the left. So it's just having control over that hind end and getting that bend into the direction of travel. In the next 4 videos, we're going to go over the different variations of the haunches in. Starting off with the haunches in down the rail, then we're going to go to a haunches out on the circle, then haunches out on the rail, and then haunches in on the circle. And each one of them has a little bit more degree of difficulty. But in those videos, I'll give you a description of how to do that and how to really bring your horse along. And once you get an understanding of that, then we can start adding in the shoulder in, the leg yields, and we'll progress on into the half pass too. So see you in the next videos.